Welcome to No Smoke TV. Today we have a very special guest, HipHop Pioneer, founder of One Hood Media, the curator of HipHop Museum, and a member of the S-Clan in the building, Paradise Gray. How you feeling today, my brother?
Yo, what it do? And actually, that's the chief curator of the Universal Hip Hop Museum.
The chief curator?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. You got so many. Good. You got so many titles. It's like.
Yeah, but my favorite title is Grandpa.
Why is your favorite title Grandpa?
Because I love my grandson and I love my babies. You know what I'm saying? And the greatest title a man could have is father and grandfather, especially if they're involved in their children's lives and help to let them grow to have a better world than the one that we got.
You're right about that, because this world right now, we need role models and all that, because what you see on TV is what's raising the kids nowadays, and it's sad. We need some good parents, good grandfathers, and good role models in these kids' lives, because the TV's not doing it.
Absolutely. As if it was designed. The TV ain't designed to do that. A lot of people be mad at media for not raising their children for them. You know, but I'm not mad at young people for not knowing what we didn't teach them.
True. You can't be mad.
We just got to do a better job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We have to have better mentors in their life and
yes.
People stepping it up. So I see you from the Bronx, just like me.
Yep.
Would you say the culture has changed tremendously from your era to my era to right now?
Of course, it changed. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. You know, a lot of old heads, they like to imagine that the world was so much better when they were young and when they were doing things, but that's not absolutely true. You know, there's never been a time in the existence of melanated people in these Americas that we weren't under attack violently from all sides.
True. But that's in the like the violent and that aspect. I'm talking about within the culture, like hip hop.
Man, come on. Hip hop was the most violent culture from the beginning. Come on. When I grew up in the Bronx, it was a different gang every 5 blocks.
Really?
You had the Savage Nomads, the Chingalings, you had the Zulus, you had the Ball Busters, you had the Savage Skulls. You know, it was gang everywhere. You had the 9 Crew. You had the Casanovas.
Wow.
You know, hip hop was a criminal enterprise back in the day.
So
everything we did was illegal. We used to go and bust the light pole open to get our electricity. That's breaking and entering. Plugging your equipment into the light pole. Theft of services. Turning your music on and having a jam. We were doing public gatherings without a permit.
Yeah, y'all was running wild.
Yeah.
And
if you ain't have no crew and you wasn't that dude, you couldn't even bring your equipment out. You bring your equipment out, cats would run up on you with shotguns and make you pack your equipment in their van after your jam.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Let alone it was crazy independent stick-up kids everywhere.
So it was kind of worse back in the day, because nowadays we got cameras and everything looking at you. Back in the day, there was no cameras, so it was probably actually worse back in the day.
No, don't let a lot of people tell it. A lot of people tell it everything was perfect. No, it wasn't.
So, what point in your life what's that one point in your life that you chose hip hop? Like, you chose to commit to hip hop?
I didn't choose hip hop. Hip hop chose me. When I was growing up in the Bronxdale projects, my cousin Susie, who I lived with at 1715 Bruckner Boulevard, the same building that Disco King Mario lived in, I was the little kid that used to stand next to the record player when they used to do the rent parties, and I used to keep a fresh supply of 45s on the spindle.
Really?
And then, so, my family was heavy into music since the Motown days. My family loved music. And my mother used to go to the record store every Friday and buy a handful of 45s. And then Saturday, we would watch Soul Train together as a family. And we would do our own Soul Train line when Soul Train went off, because we had all the music on Soul Train in our own living room.
Wow.
So that's what gave me my initial love of music. My mother was my music programmer and the music director of my household. And the first 2 crates of records I had came from my mother's living room, like many of the original DJs in hip hop. So, we were taught music in general by the greatest masters of music that ever existed. People say that we created hip hop in the Bronx from nothing. That's a lie. We stand on the shoulders of the greatest curators and purveyors of music and culture that ever existed. James Brown, George Clinton, Sly and the Family Stone, the Ohio Players, Earth, Wind and Fire, Rick James, Cameo, and so many more. And we also stand on the shoulders of Muhammad Ali, H. Rap Brown, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, and of course, Reverend King, some of the greatest spoken word orators of all time. That's the foundation of hip hop and the fifth element of knowledge, So we have, if we look like we're tall, it's because we stand on the shoulders of giants. And speaking of hip hop choosing me, when I was 7 years old, I was walking past the recreation room that Disco King Mario has set up to practice in. And I heard all this great music coming out of the room, and I was standing in the door peeking in, and Mario told me, "Hey man, come in, man, and close the door." I was like, "Me?" He was like, "Yeah, come in and close the door." I came in and closed the door, and I witnessed Disco King Mario DJing with 2 turntables and a mixer, going the heck off, and wow. I was hooked from that moment on.
So it was that moment that struck you, that you said, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. This is my passion. This is my love.
Well, I had no idea what I was going to do for the rest of my life. But right then, I knew that I was a DJ. That's what I am.
But that was your passion. You knew that was your love. That's what you
playing music was my passion. And I was like one of the first radio Raheems. When I moved from the Bronxdale projects, I moved to a community called High Bridge. Peace and love to A Boogie and my son on that note.
Cardi B too. Cardi B.
And Cardi B and Big Bang Hank and many, many others. Debbie D, Greg Nice, D Nice, and so I linked up with this brother named the Grand Imperial DJ JC, who recently passed away. Rest in peace, good brother. And he wound up becoming the top DJ for the Hercolords and Cool Herc, But JC, he was the best, the fastest DJ back in the day, bar none.
The fastest, like you mean like scratching wise?
Like cutting and
okay.
Yeah, like everybody else would be going good times, good times, good times. JC be like on the G, he be like he cut like a sampler. And he was the first one I saw beat juggle and needle drop perfectly and all of that. And he had a great advantage over all the other DJs. To me, in my opinion, the 2 greatest DJs from back in the day was the Grand Imperial DJ JC and Grand Mixer DXT. And the advantage that they had over everybody else is both of them played the drums for live bands.
So they played the actual drums for live bands?
Yes, so they both had the hand-eye coordination that was off the hook. They were used to using both hands and both feet at the same time.
Wow.
So that dexterity made their cuts and scratches way more. They were both real percussionists, allowed them to be the first turntablists that used the turntables as an actual percussion instrument.
Mm. Wow. You saying some things that I don't even know. Like you teaching me some things. Cause the DJs back in the day, what they used to do back in the day and to the DJs now is like you can't even compare.
Oh, yes, you can. If you listen to Grand Mixer DXT and JC, you will see the foundations of everything. As a matter of fact, if you watch the documentary called Scratch, which to me is the greatest turntablism documentary ever, 90% of the DJs in that documentary credit Grand Mixer DXT for them even being DJs at all.
Really? Well,
and Grand Mixer DXT, his claim to fame is that, first of all, if you watch the movie Wild Style, they didn't even show his face. They just showed his hands on the turntables. If you listen to him DJ, Grandmaster Flash DJ, and Grand with the Theodore, who is my other DJ hero, you'll see that back in those days, DXT was way more advanced than Flash and Theodore. You know?
I was just talking about regarding like the scratching wise. DJs nowadays don't really scratch; they really just mix.
Oh well, those ain't hip hop DJs. Those are club DJs and party DJs. A hip hop DJ, I'm talking about like Qbert. You know what I'm saying? Jazzy Jeff. You know,
Jazzy
DJ
Jeff,
Cash
yeah.
Money. DJ Cash Money. You know what I mean? DJ Scratch. You know, cats like that.
Got you. So can you get into the Latin quarters? I know that was a big. I know that was a big part of your life, and a lot of hip hop artists, like some legends, came out of there, like LL Cool J, KRS-One, Public Enemy, MC Hammer. A lot of legends came out of there. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
The Latin Quarter was the incubator of the golden era of hip hop. When I went into the Latin Quarter, the big stars was Curtis Blow, the Fat Boys, Lovebug Starsky, Houdini. And when we came out of Latin Quarters, we totally replaced the first generation with new artists such as KRS-One, Salt and Pepper, Kid and Play, EPMD, Eric B. and Rakim, BDP and KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane, Bismarck, Roxanne Shante, Cool G Rap, EPMD. All of these things came at the Latin Quarters and more. You know, the Latin Quarters was on 48th and Broadway, right in the middle of Times Square. Location. So everybody in the entertainment and music industry congregated at the Latin Quarters, including a young Mike Tyson before he was champ, including a young Chris Rock when he first started rocking at Saturday Night Live, Bobby Brown, the Cosby Kids, everybody hung out at the LQ. If you wasn't at the LQ back then you was nobody, basically. Rob Bass rocked the Latin Quarter. Hammer rocked the Latin Quarter. You know, it was just a Heavy D and the Boys, Stetson Sonic, Milk and Giz, Sweet Tea and Jazzy Joyce. You know, it was just ridiculous. And the coat check girl who answered the phone was none other than the legendary Heather Hunter.
Really? The porn star?
Yes.
She used to check the coats at Latin Quarters.
And answer the phone at Latin Quarters.
And answer the phones?
Yes.
Wow. I did not know that. That's you see, people, you learn something.
And then to keep adding on, King's Son, Just Ice. It's just ridiculous. Slick Rick.
So a lot of
the Kango crew, Dana Dane, the Wee Papa Girls. I mean,
a lot of big hitters.
Ridiculous.
You name a lot of big hitters.
It was that spot in New York, and it only lasted for 2.5 years and created over 100 classic legendary artists.
As you naming them, I'm seeing like, wow, these are people that's coming out of state coming to Latin Quarters too. Yep. Wow. It was mainly for the big.
Ice-T rocked the Latin Quarters with 6 in the morning. And everybody, he blew up because it was right after the Larry Davis incident. People thought he was talking about Larry Davis with 6 in the morning, cops at my door.
Oh, everybody thought that he was talking to Larry Davis?
No, they thought he was talking about the Larry Davis incident.
Oh, okay.
But actually, Ice-T says the inspiration for 6 in the morning was actually Schoolie D, who also used to come from Philly and rock Latin Quarters.
Wow.
You know, if you listen to 6 in the morning, cops at my door.
Yeah, I heard that before.
We making all that green. People always say, what the hell that mean?
Yeah,
it's the same cadence.
Oh, so they thought that he was talking about the Larry Davis situation.
Right, but he was actually inspired by Schoolie D.
Got you. So did he get a lot of like backlash for that, or he cleared it up real quick?
Hell no, he ain't had to clear nothing up. That shit was the joint. He killed it with that. It was a national hit, an international hit, deservedly so. You know what I mean? And he was down by law legitimate because he was working with Africa Islam. You know, and at that time, Islam, and still to this day, is an incredible DJ and producer.
Africa Islam?
Yeah.
Where's he reside? He's from New York?
Africa Islam was the son of Bambaataa. He wasn't his real son, but that's what his screed was. You know, he was the one that helped make Bambaataa the master of records, you know?
Oh, really?
And the master of beats. Yeah, Africa Islam is that dude, man. You know?
Dropping a lot of gems in here. Everybody, I hope you be paying attention. This is one of the pioneers of hip hop. You're saying a lot of gems right now.
You can't mention Latin Quarters without mentioning Special K, Teddy Ted, and the Awesome Two, who were the ones that brought me to Latin Quarters as a celebrity guest for their Celebrity Tuesdays. And also, we can't mention the Latin Quarter without mentioning Cool DJ Red Alert and Chuck Chillout.
Wow.
Who was our house DJs on Friday and Saturday nights. You know, those were the guys that brought that heat, you know, and they were the ones that made sure that all of the aspiring stars of hip hop would come to the club, because if you could get Red Alert and Chuck Chillout to play your music in the club, they're definitely going to play it on air.
For sure. DJ Red Alert was one of those guys back in the day, so definitely playing it on air.
DJ Red Alert is still one of those dudes.
Right about that. Correction.
Yes, sir. So for after the Latin Quarter, that's where I met Professor X and Sugar Shab, and Sugar Shab brought Brother J. So we formed the Black Watch movement during the Latin Quarter days, when we were also pioneering what would later become the Stop the Violence movement. All of that with self-destruction, and all of that came from meetings that we were having at the Latin Quarter called Meetings of the Minds, where we would practice the fifth element, and we would bring together a lot of the top artists, including De La Soul, the Jungle Brothers, wow. And the rest of the native tongues, including Moni Love. You know, that all came out of the Latin Quarters too.
A lot came out of Latin Quarters.
Yeah,
Latin Quarters
after that, we got into you know, we started making our records as X Clan, the Black Watch movement, and we brought out the Black Power part of hip hop, including Public Enemy. Also did their first monumental New York show at the Latin Quarters also, you know. And of course, Eric B. and Rakim were broke by Red Alert at the Latin Quarter. So it was the birth of conscious hip hop. And then, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say that Latin Quarters looks like basically a birthplace for hip hop, because all the greats was birthed out of there. They performed in there. Even people like Mike Tyson, Chris Rock, comedians, all such people from different parts of entertainment was going to Latin Quarters.
Yes, sir. But I wouldn't say it was birthed there, because hip hop was birthed long before that. We already had platinum album, gold albums with Curtis Blow and Houdini and LL. They were making music long before Latin Quarters, but Latin Quarters is where we incubated what is known as the golden era.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? So we continued on the foundation that Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel and the Cold Crush and the Funky Four and all of those incredible people like DJ Hollywood, you know, they laid it, you know, Love Bug Starsky, Busy B, you know, Kool Mo D, the Treacherous Three, you know, all of these wonderful people like DJ Breakout and Baron and the Funky Four, you know, they were the ones that laid it down so that we could learn it from them. and we just took it to the next level.
I see. Yeah, yes, I did. Yes, I did. And salute to you guys, man. Because if hip hop wouldn't be right now if it wasn't for you guys. So salute to you.
And thank you to the younger generation who took the baton that we had ran with and keep it moving. You know, a lot of people complain about today's rappers and today's hip hop. And I'll say, I'll be 58 years old this summer. And when I was 15 years old making hip hop, I ain't give a damn what somebody's grandfather thought about what I was doing, saying, or anything else. So we fought to be free, for young people today to be free to do what they need to do with hip hop. And I say to young people, run with it. You don't need nobody's permission to do anything. Do you, do your thing. Just understand your history and the blood, sweat, and tears that other people put in order for you to have the platform that you have, in order for you to be able to make the money that you're making and understand your own history. Don't think that you invented anything, because it ain't about you, but it is about you, because you need to take it to the future. And I think, honestly, hip hop is in great hands with the young people we have. The only change I would make is I would balance it out, because so many artists sound the same. You can't even tell who's rapping, and you can't even hear their own voice. Everybody's rapping with the same voice, the same cadence, the same style. You know, use some originality. Do you. Don't just be a cookie cutter dude because this is what you think everybody else want to hear. And, you know, sure, the street element was always a part of hip hop, and I'll never discount that. But the street element is not all that hip hop is. We need to create a balance in our music, because even Tupac and Scarface took bubble baths.
We need more. We need a little more conscious rap. Like we have like the J. Cole's, the Kendrick Lamar's. We have that in the hip hop world right now.
But we have more than that. If you're a jazz aficionado, would you turn the radio on and think you're going to hear more than Kenny G? Would you think that they're going to give you Bitches Brew? You think they're going to dig in the crates and give you Coltrane and all that if you listen to jazz on the radio? Hell no.
No.
So we got lazy. We sit around and whatever the mainstream plays for us, we just rock with it. That's not hip hop. We dug in the crates and found obscure breaks and beats. Things that people would never hear on the radio. Apache, Just Begun, all those old joints that, you know, Kool Herc and others dug up out the crates that we call the sacred crates of hip hop. We never would have knew all those beats. Bob James, all of the Tower of Power, Aerosmith. You know, we took every genre and we made it hip hop because we cut it up, you know? So we got to keep doing that now. If you're a hip hop aficionado, don't just listen to the radio, think you're going to hear real hip hop, unless, of course, you're listening to Rock the Bells. Then you're going to get it right, you know? But we have to curate our sound. We can't just turn to a radio programmer or a TV programmer and think that we going to get what we supposed to get. No, don't be lazy. Dig in the crate, find those obscure joints and rock out with it.
You're right. People are scared not to, you know, they're scared people not to like them. They going with what's trendy right now. They go with what sells, and that's the sad part. Like you said, they got to dig in the crates and find themselves, you know, find a different style.
Everybody that follow all the trends will be left behind, because we change our styles every couple years, period. That's how we do, you know?
But enough about that. Can we get into One Hood Media? Because I see you as a founder of that, and that's basically help young African men with their media develop, you know, the media the right way. So can you get into that?
Yes. Here in Pittsburgh is called the City of Bridges. And Mr. Rogers is from Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Mr. Rogers' theme is, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, so we came together and created One Hood because there's 13 different Black neighborhoods in Pittsburgh, and they're all divided by bridges. And I felt like it was time that we stopped burning the bridges and started walking across them. and recognizing that, you know, these are dope dudes over here. It's like you can't get hot. You couldn't get hot in Pittsburgh. You can only get hot in your little piece of hood. You couldn't get hot in the whole city because they hated each other because they didn't live in the same hood. So came up with the concept of one hood, you know, one city, one people, one hood. You know what I'm saying? And we originally came together. I came together with 6 brothers from all different parts of the city. Jasiri X, Luke Mon, Reverend Cornell Jones, Darnell Drury, and myself and my boy Kahari Mosley. We were all stakeholders that ran programs and worked with kids in the streets, the jails, the churches, the mosques. So it was only intelligent that we combined our forces and formed Voltron, you know, and it worked pretty good. So we used Jasiri at the time had an after school program in Taylor Alderdice High School, where a young 16-year-old Wiz Khalifa was in his program called Lyrics. And I was working with kids in the street, in the jails. Cornell had the Iron Cross working in the jails with kids. So we just put all our programs together and started teaching media literacy, basically teaching young people that the media controls their image. And,
right about that.
And teaching them how to digest media. And we decomposed hip hop and decompiled it and showed them that all these guys, most of these guys are lying. They're not selling drugs. You know, this dude got a college degree. You know what I'm saying? And we broke it all down and showed them what was true and what was lies, and how the media uses those lies to create personas that are fake, that young people try to live up to. And we let them know who the stakeholders in the media is, what are the different forms of media. And then we ask the question, does the media that you consume, is that you? That image that they're portraying? And they say no. And we say, is that your morals? Is that the way you live or want to live? And they say no. We say, okay, now that you know that, it's your responsibility to project your image of who you really are in your media that you put out. So in your rhymes, stop lying. Keep it real. Be one. Don't glorify nothing that you ain't living. You understand? And we taught them how to do that. And then we taught them how to project their own images into the atmosphere. Because after you know that lies are being perpetrated that's harming our community, it becomes your responsibility to balance it out with the true you and your own personal moral standards and systems.
And we need more places like that today, because these kids nowadays, they need guidance, man. Because what they see in the media, that's what they believe in. So just much respect for you guys for doing what you was doing, because these kids definitely need guidance, because they believe whatever they see in the media, and they believe that's real. Like, these rappers is really living that life, and they really not.
Yep.
So
that's why I love my son, man. You know, my son, them 2 joints he laid down for Funk Flex, and shout out to Funk Flex, man. Great job, man. I love what you do. You know, but those 2 rhymes that my son spit on are like classics, like how to talk to young people 101 and tell them the truth about what the real deal is. So shout out to the General My Son. Love you, bro.
Shout out to my son. He's always pushing the movement for that. Shout out to him. Good brother.
And a great shout out to my brother Jasiri X, who is the CEO of One Hood currently. And this year, One Hood won the Nike Michael Jordan Award for community service, you know? So the thing that we created over 15 years ago, 3X and Trouble NLS, and you know, a lot of great men and women now, because we added women to the mix a little over 5 years ago, and the women of One Hood are smashing with incredible programs that they're running right now. Not only to stop violence, but also to create jobs for young people and to fight for their freedoms. You know, here in Pittsburgh, during the Black Lives Matter incidents over the last 2 years, these kids were out in the street taking charge on the front line on their own, you know, and I got nothing but love for freedom. You know what I'm saying?
So what made you start to open? What made you open the museum of Museum of Hip Hop? What made you start the Museum of Hip Hop? Like what?
Well, actually, it's a universal hip hop museum, but there are many other people who are attempting to create museums, and I send a shout out to them also. But ours is a over $100 million institution that's being built on exterior place in the Bronx at 149th, and it's just amazing. I actually started collecting the Paradise collection in 1978. I was inspired by my brother Michael, rest in peace, who collected baseball cards and comic books, and that got me into collecting. And the minute I saw old school hip hop flyers made by Phase 2 and those cats, the original cats that made flyers, I was hooked because they were incorporating Afrofuturism into the flyers, you know, science fiction flyers and comic book heroes on the flyers like Spider-Man and Iron Man. And, you know, I was a big fan of superheroes. So hip hop artists were like superheroes to me. Oh. The Grand Imperial DJ JC, Grand Master Flash, you know, cool DJ Herc, you know what I mean? The Hercolords, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Grandmaster Flowers, you know, it was like superheroes that were ghetto superstars. And I can relate to that. So I started collecting hip hop flyers and everything related to hip hop since back then. So over 12 years ago, I interfaced with my boy Rocky Bucano, the CEO and president of the Universal Hip Hop Museum, and I've been working with him ever since to bring it to reality. And along the way, I've been linking up with good friends of mine who are also collectors, who are also interested in preserving the culture and history of hip hop. My boy Pete Nice, the Prime Minister from Third Base. Pete Nice. My homegirl Kelly from LA. My homegirl Martha Diaz. You know what I'm saying? And my man Pop Master Fable from the Rocksteady crew. So there are collectors and purveyors of hip hop memorabilia and artifacts all over the world. And you know, my boy Adam Silverstein from Switzerland. You know, Ed Young, who used to be the executive director of the Source magazine. You know, we all just came together and said, look, this has to be done. And if we can't do it, can't nobody do it. Sorry, my battery's getting low.
All right, so let's before that, let's get into the TV show. I see you got a TV show starting soon with the
I can't really talk about it yet because we didn't announce it, but
all right, so I'm gonna leave that off.
Me, the Prime Minister, Pete Nice, and Mr. Rock the Bells himself, LL Cool J, we're the executive producers of a TV show that'll be featuring hip-hop memorabilia, using artifacts from hip-hop history to tell untold stories and to fill in the gaps between stories that we heard of, but we didn't know the whole story. It's just going to be an amazing, first season. You know what I'm saying? We got picked up for 10 shows in the first season, and we're going to be bringing that heat. You know, amazing people that we've already interviewed, and I promise that I'll probably come back on with Pete, and when we're able to fully give you the whole rundown of the show.
I'm looking forward to it, man. You're welcome back anytime, and I want to hear about it because that show sounds like a hit, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I know you can't say too much about it, but I'm glad you could give a little piece of it. I appreciate that. And before you get out of here, because I know your phone's about to die and everything, I just wanted to ask you one question from a hip-hop pioneer itself.
Yes.
What is the definition of hip-hop?
Can I curse on your show?
Go ahead, bro.
Hip-hop is whatever the fuck we say it is. You know, hip-hop is the united cultural history of indigenous peoples worldwide. Hip hop is the musical and cultural Borg. If you're a Star Trek fan, the Borg's line is resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. If we see a ballet move and we like it, we're going to make it hip hop. If we see a b-boy move in a kung fu movie, we're going to snatch that. It's hip hop now. If we hear a classical record and we want to sample it, it's hip hop now. If it's a rock beat, a pop beat, a reggae beat, I don't care what it is.
It's hip hop.
It's hip hop if we use it and put our swag on it. So whatever we say is hip hop, that's what hip hop is.
You heard from the greatest itself. You heard from Paradise itself, one of the pioneers. That's what hip hop is. For you young kids that's in hip hop right now, learn a little bit about your history. And I want to tell you, thank you for stopping by the show. And I hope you could come back on.